The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. It is no substitute for professional care by your doctor or your qualified healthcare professional. Never disregard or delay professional medical advice because of something you've heard on this podcast or in any linked material. Guests who speak on this podcast express their own opinions, experience, and conclusions. Dr. Shirley neither endorses nor opposes any particular opinion discussed on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast have no relation to those of any academic, hospital, practice, institution, or other entity with which Dr. Shirley may be affiliated.
Welcome to Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty. This podcast is curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD, as the definitive source of holistic wellness through beauty.
Welcome to the Forever Fab podcast. It is a podcast dedicated to fashion, the art of living well, and all things beauty. I'm your host, Dr. Shirley Madhere, your purveyor of this definitive source of living a beautiful life. This week's episode is dedicated to the planet. And the topic is Facing Climate Change, How the Environment Affects Your Face. This is my interview with Dr. Anne-Marie Fine. Dr. Amoy Fine is a practicing naturopathic doctor who graduated with high academic honors from the Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine in Tempe, Arizona, and she received her undergraduate degree from the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. Dr. Fine is an award-winning researcher, author, and highly sought-after national and international speaker. Her practice is based in Newport Beach, California, and her unique expertise focuses on environmental medicine. Dr. Fine has formulated her own anti-aging, toxin-free skincare products, the I Am Fine Pure Skin line, which actually works because it includes the highest levels of select organic fruit seed oils in combination with essential oils, minerals, and vitamins at active therapeutic levels. And those are some of my favorite ingredients. And it does not contain any ingredients, synthetic or natural, which may be harmful to the skin. She is the author of Cracking the Beauty Code, How to Program Your DNA for Health, Vitality, and Younger-Looking Skin. And she's received press on Thrive Global, 60 Minutes, Martha Stewart Living Radio, and Alternative Medicine Review, among other notable outlets. She joins us from Newport Beach, California, via Zoom. Welcome, Dr. Fine, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Madhere. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you. All right, let's get started. What is environmental medicine? Tell me about the focus of your practice and your expertise.
Okay, environmental medicine is an emerging specialty that is really gaining some great traction now, but I've been involved with it for really the last 10, 20 years. It's always been a part of naturopathic training,
yes.
And this is the way that we get to the root cause of problems. But it deals with the assessment and the evaluation and then the subsequent treatment of our patients who have environmental pollutants as contributors to their disease process.
Yes. How timely.
And it's so timely because right now, especially right now,
yes.
with all of the lawsuits with Monsanto and
yes.
Johnson & Johnson with their baby powder, their talc causing cancer, it's very timely. It's like all of a sudden the media is very aware of these things that we've been aware. You know, when I was in medical school in the
yes.
90s and our professors told us to tell your patients to not use baby powder or talc on their genitals. It's cancerous.
Wow.
We're like, okay. And then come to find out decades later that
it came to pass.
No. It came to pass, and now there are lawsuits that have to do with this. So this has always been a part of our training, and now it's becoming a specialty of other physician groups as well. And I believe that in about 10 or 15 years, environmental medicine will become standard of care in all of all of our healthcare institutions.
I think it should. I really do. So a causal relationship then between human diseases and the environment is not new. You've known about it. You've been studying it for a couple of decades. And in the 4th or 5th century BC, before Christ, Hippocrates wrote airs, waters, and places. And that represents, I believe, the first attempt to establish a relationship between the environment and disease in humans. So
yes.
If that is the case, then what are the new threats? I mean, obviously they were different in the 4th and 5th century BC, and what are they now from your perspective? What are the new threats?
Yes, in 4th and 5th century BC, and up until the time of the Romans, who sort of were exterminated by. It's thought that the lead in their cups, their drinking cups, were toxic. Lead is a neurotoxin.
Yes.
So back then, the obvious poisonous substances were things that made up the Earth's crust, like mercury and lead and some of these poisonous heavy metals.
Yes.
And so what has changed? And so they were always problematic, and you can't. You can't get rid of them. They're in the Earth's crust, right?
Yes.
But nowadays, since the age of the chemical industry that started about the 1940s. We have about 85,000 new chemicals that have been unleashed on our world that have no precedent in nature. They're manufactured.
Yeah.
They're man-made.
Yeah.
They're synthetic.
It's crazy.
And there really was no testing on this in human beings, and there still really isn't very much testing on it. And so we are dealing with an onslaught of 85,000 new toxins.
Wow.
On top of the ones we already had to deal with, like mercury. It's in volcanic ash.
Yeah.
And there were volcanoes throughout history, so you can't get away from that. But
Right.
the new ones are overwhelming our body's natural ability to detoxify via the liver and the kidneys and the skin.
Wow. That's overwhelming. That really is. So this may seem like basic and simple comment, but let's just go with it anyway. In what significant ways does the environment affect us? I mean, this is basic, but I think it bears repeating. I think many people underestimate the effect of the environment on our bodies.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So, basically the air is polluted. The air is polluted, and your indoor air is many more times more polluted than your outdoor air.
Wow.
Because your air circulator, it comes from the outside, but then you've got your carpets and, the adhesive backings and your paints and things are off-gassing in your house.
Mattresses,
your cabinets are off-gassing formaldehyde because they are made from pressed particle board. The dry cleaning you bring in is off-gassing perc into your homes, and they've measured that. And the highest levels of perc in your home are in your bedroom because people hang it up in the closet. So, and we're in our homes, 90% of our time is spent indoors or in our homes.
Yes.
So that makes a difference. Our water is so polluted. And we've always treated it with chlorine to kill the things that could give you dysentery and things like that, amoebas.
Right.
And so, that's good, but water supply has gotten dirtier, and so they added ammonia with chlorine to make chlorine.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, and so now your tap water. I just had someone come out to my house and test it recently.
Yes.
And it broke his chart.
What?
The tap water broke his chart.
Oh my gosh. Dr. Fine, did you do something about that?
Well, see, I don't drink the water. See, I have been for my entire adult life, I've used the reverse osmosis filter because I always knew the water was no good. And that just proved it, right?
Yes.
So we've covered air and water. Well, then we get into our food, and our food supply is it's not the same stuff that was even made the milk, dairy is not the same.
Oh, forget it. No. Is it even really dairy? I don't
know, because there's all kinds of hormones and things in there, and it's going through the tubing. Okay. Nobody is like hand milking.
Right.
The tubing has BPA,
plastic tubing. Yeah.
phthalates and plastics. And so, it's just this horrifying thing that people are still thinking makes milk does a body good or whatever.
Right.
The highest rates of osteoporosis are in the countries that drink the most milk, which is the U.S.
Yeah.
The U.S. and the Nordic countries. Okay, so food's got pesticides, and now all the glyphosate, they're using glyphosate as a desiccant on crops that are Maybe they didn't have glyphosate in the first place, but it helps dry them up because, my
Yes.
gosh, we want to get those things to market soon as possible because we
Yes.
have to be able to sell it.
Yes.
And so there's glyphosate and pesticides, and these things are neurotoxins as well, and that's how they kill the pests. And we are accumulating them in our bodies.
In our
so
tissues,
let's see,
yeah.
that's air, and that's water, and that's food,
Food,
and
yeah.
and then all the things in our home, like our mattresses and
Yeah.
the flame retardants and the PFAS, the polyfluorinated
Polyfluorinated,
chemicals
yes.
are now coming into the public's awareness as being super toxic.
Oh my
And
gosh.
guess what? You can't detoxify them. They're one of the few things that cannot come out during a sauna. So
Oh,
sauna is
wow.
probably something we'll talk about later.
Okay.
You can sweat out a lot of junk. You can't get rid of it. And
Oh,
in
wow.
fact, one of my colleagues had a case of PFAS toxicity, and the only way they could get it out was through phlebotomy.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Over time.
Over time. So
of
repeated
course.
sessions of blood
Yes.
drawing and bloodletting, if you will.
You had to get rid of the blood.
Wow.
Like there was no other way to get it out of your body.
Yeah, that's
This is
dramatic.
a huge problem.
That's dramatic.
So, and then of course your personal care products. This is
Yes.
the issue that I typically speak on at environmental medicine conferences.
Yes, that's a hard one.
Personal care products are totally overlooked. They're kind of eclipsed by the air, the water, and the food.
Right.
But these are things that we women have control over. But we slather this stuff on every day,
Yeah.
in the shower, out of the
I
shower.
slather on body
makeup,
lotion, yes.
Yeah. This all, and our skin is it's an organ of elimination, but it also can absorb certain things too. And so we can never forget that, because there's it's like a direct route of entry into your body that passes the liver. It bypasses the liver detoxification system and gains entry directly into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
So personal care products, skincare, and makeup, and hairspray, and perfume, and fragrances, all of these things have to be looked at as well. And I really like to talk about it because it sounds kind of overwhelming.
Yes.
But all you have to do is figure out what your substitute is going to be. You don't have to give up these products.
Yes. Thank goodness.
No, you don't have to give them up. You just have to find the safer version.
Yes.
And once you put in the time to figure out what that is, then you just keep buying that mindlessly, just like you were buying the bad stuff mindlessly.
Right.
You just keep buying it.
Right.
So that's actually one of the courses that I have. It's called, the Beauty Bluff, how to read a label. You have to learn how to read
I agree with that. I don't know, that being a beauty person, that you're right. It is a very difficult topic, and I might have to just keep picking my poisons until I slowly, replace in the good stuff. So Jeanette, let's talk about some of our defenses: genetics, epigenetics, and the environment. How are they all sort of interrelated, and how can we use epigenetics to our benefit?
Yeah. So genetics, of course, the Human Genome Project around 2003, 2004 was supposed to yield all of the answers on what gene is causing what problem. And we found out that really didn't yield the answers. And why is that? Because the epigenetics, your environment, is if you think about your DNA, it's the hardware in your body, and your environment, the epigenetics, is the software.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, that's how I say it in my book. You're turning certain genes on and off via the environment, which speaks to your genes 24/7. We are just bathed in our environment, and we're constantly telling our genes what to do. And so that's, in a nutshell, that's epigenetics, and that is the basis of my book. And I tried to get across the idea that our skin is like an outward reflection of how healthy we are on the inside.
I agree.
And so all of these things that we can do epigenetically to improve our bodies also improves our skin. And believe it or not, this was so exciting to me. There's all kinds of support in the literature on this now. I didn't have to make this up.
Yes. Nobody thought you were woo-woo or out there. Data actually exists.
I know. It's always so exciting, isn't it? I have 50 pages of references.
Yes, that's amazing.
On my book. Oh, it's incredible. Like Tai Chi, this very gentle Chinese form of moving meditation has been found to turn on not just one anti-aging gene, but like 6 different anti-aging genes,
Wow.
like keeps them all on. And it's just crazy what's
Yeah.
out there in the literature. I mean,
Yeah.
somebody had to think about this.
Yes.
Should we test Tai Chi?
Yes,
and see if-
right. Why are
What
there
is
hundreds of people doing Tai Chi in the park? There has to be a
I know.
reason.
I know, exactly. And trust the Chinese to come up with this thousands of years
Yes.
ago, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, there's all kinds of good things like that. So we do have control over our environment. And so it really behooves us to take the time to really understand this so that we're not afraid of our genetic destiny.
Right. And we don't feel victimized by things that happen, because I think, with epigenetics, we're just beginning to understand that we actually have control to a large extent over turning those genes on, like you said, or manipulating the hardware, if you will.
Yes.
So while the environment obviously affects our physiology, we also can affect our immediate environment. So it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
Now, how does the environment specifically affect our skin?
Are we getting into climate change now?
Yes.
Okay. So climate change, how does it affect our skin? Well, what really blew me away is a few years ago, studies started coming out that particulate matter in air pollution actually was prematurely aging the skin, causing hyperpigmentation, which are those dreaded age spots.
Yes.
Loss of elasticity. Oh, come on. Who wants sagging?
Who wants that?
And it was from air pollution. And so I had suspected this. And so in my book, I talk about pollution and pollutants and environmental chemicals as being contributory to premature aging as well. So our environment, as it gets more polluted, it's causing premature aging on our skin. And also the temperature changes. Your skin does not like to go from super hot to super cold to super dry to super humid. And so we're seeing a lot of that. And then one of the top ways that climate change is going to affect our future skin is that the modeling of future ozone levels and UV exposure.
And UV exposure, that ozone is thinning out.
It's estimated a 10% increase in skin cancer.
Yeah,
and
that's
skin
dramatic.
cancer, even though a lot more people are using sunscreen than ever before, it's rising. It's rising.
Wow.
And so now it's going to rise even more. So the skin is like the interface between us and our environment. And so as our weather changes, our skin is on the front lines. And so we have to be very proactive in our skin care.
So you obviously believe in climate change, and I like the analogy that you use, that if climate change is a war, our skin is at the front lines of that war.
It is.
And you mentioned the incidence of skin cancer increasing despite the increased use of sunscreen. It's like what do we believe? The incidence of skin cancer is rising, but now we hear that there are reports coming out that so many sunscreens are hormone disruptors. So I think a lot of consumers are stuck in the middle. Do I use it? Do I not use it? What do we do?
I know. So what I say,
Yes.
this is such a good thing to talk about on your podcast.
Good, great.
So what I say is there's so many sunscreens that have endocrine disruptors in them, and probably the most mind-boggling study of this was done with women from Switzerland. I think it was the fall, so not the summer.
Not the summer.
Not the ski season.
Right.
So a time when women should not be using sunscreens, and they tested these women for endocrine disruptors from sunscreens in their blood, and they found all kinds of it. And they were like, I don't understand. It's not even sun season.
Yeah.
And so, that's because it's because they're starting to put it in foundation and lipsticks and hair products. So it's not confined to sunscreen. But what I tell my patients is to use mineral-based sunscreen.
Mineral-based,
I do recommend sunscreen, especially on your face.
Yes.
And I like the ones with zinc oxide.
Okay.
And, but titanium dioxide is also a mineral sunscreen. I just think zinc is just a little bit safer. And, when we were, many years ago, the lifeguards used to wear that opaque zinc oxide.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, it's a known good thing to put on your skin to prevent skin damage and burns.
Right.
And the preparations today are a lot more elegant than that.
Yeah, thank goodness for that.
Yeah, and they can, disappear into your skin pretty well.
Yeah.
So I like the mineral-based sunscreens. I think are a good idea.
I had a patient today talk to me about sun exposure and vitamin D deficiency. So she's vitamin D deficient, but she wears sunscreen, but she doesn't want to take a supplement. So the other thing, I just say, well, definitely take the supplement. And if you absolutely need to get sun, then maybe obviously wear your sunscreen, wear a hat, and avoid it on your face, and maybe just 15 minutes on your body, and that's it.
Yeah,
what would you say about that?
Yeah, so I started my practice in Arizona and then I moved to California. Sun,
tons of sun
everywhere,
and dry and arid.
I know. And what do you know? The women, I test them for vitamin D starting like 20 years ago, and they were all deficient. And I thought, well, maybe they're just not getting any sun. And so what I would have them do is completely either wear the sunscreen or just put, towels over their like your face and your chest and your hands. I'm like face, chest, hands, cover.
Yeah.
But the rest of you can get 5 or 10 minutes is all I recommend. And that's it.
Yeah.
But guess what? Their blood levels of vitamin D did not rise.
Interesting.
And I can't even tell you why. It's Arizona. So I started because vitamin D is so important for immune health.
Yes, of course.
I started recommending, supplementation, and so now I just have people supplement.
Yeah.
And people are not that keen on, going outside in their swim. I mean, in Arizona, it's easier. Everyone's got a pool. You go out in your backyard.
Exactly. Not so easy in New York.
Or New York, or even where I'm at. People just don't really go outside to sunbathe in the middle of the day. And if you do it, at 6 in the morning, you're not getting
peak sun, right?
Not getting the sun. So I think supplementation is fine.
So you've been dealing with so many environmental issues in your practice, and you have a long history of treating and dealing with these issues that perhaps the media and the public at large were not exactly aware of until recently. So is that one of the reasons why, because you see so many environmental issues affecting our physiology, our health, our skin, is that one of the reasons why you developed your own skincare line? What motivated you?
Yes, that is exactly it. Once you discover environmental toxicity and its contributions to people's health problems, it's like you can't unsee it. You know what I mean? And so I was seeing in my female patients so much chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and autoimmune disease, all of these things. And I was thinking, well, what do women do that the men aren't doing? Like, why is this? And I started thinking about the products that everybody uses. And I'm a woman too, so I know what kind of products that we use.
Right.
And I started looking at them more closely and discovering that a lot of those ingredients can be directly correlated to some of these problems.
Wow.
Like the endocrine disruptor problem. And I thought, so at first I started telling my patients, just go get the good stuff.
Yeah.
Go to the health food store.
Right.
And then they would come back and say, but I want a direct recommendation. I'm like, oh, shoot, I don't have a direct recommendation.
Yes.
So then I would go to the health food store and look at them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not good. And why is it even here? Like they weren't really good.
Yeah.
And so
they weren't as clean.
No, they weren't as clean. And I did notice that some of the German lines on the market were very good for young skin that doesn't need any help. They just need you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about, yes.
Yeah, those young women in their 20s.
Yeah,
yeah. You're 20 again, and you just need a clean thing, and you're not trying to combat.
You're not trying to anti-age.
No, you're not trying to anti-age. But then I thought, the market that is totally not served here is the mature market. And so I wanted to do a non-toxic anti-aging serum for the mature woman. And so that's when I put it together and started recommending it for my patients.
Yeah.
And that's how I got started.
I'm glad that you did. Now, for those people who are listening who are in the beauty formulation and product development space, now, how exactly did you start? You had this idea and you thought, this is what I wanted to do. You have the experience and the knowledge of being able to choose your ingredients. But then from there, did you have to bring it to a company and say, okay, put all of these in a bottle? What were the steps to development?
The steps that were involved in that is I spent a lot of time in Europe at these trade shows for personal care development.
Yeah.
And I got to talk to the vendors of the ingredients
Yes.
for the personal care. And
You went directly to source.
I got to talk to cosmetic chemists and talk to
Yes.
them about how it works. I got to go to presentations by PhDs in cosmetic chemists and how do these ingredients work. So I kind of went to the source, and then I figured out what I wanted to do, and then I actually formulated it myself.
Wow, impressive.
I did not take it to a lab and say, I like these things. Can you make something out of it? I formulated it myself, and I worked with it on my own for a little bit until I refined my formula. And then I took it to a research lab.
Wow.
And had them start making it in small quantities for commercial use.
Yes,
so that's how I got started with that.
Great. Well, I cannot wait. I have to say I have yet to try them, and I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to it. So what are your top ingredients? If someone said to you, okay, Dr. Fine, you're going to be on an island with water, clean water, maybe a few morsels of food, and only 3 to 5 of your top skincare ingredients, what would they be?
You know what? The first ingredient in my youth serum is actually blueberry seed oil.
Oh, why is that?
Yeah, and it's so unusual because I've looked at all the products on the market and I haven't found any products that have as their first ingredient blueberry seed oil. In fact, you rarely see it. And that's
You're
because,
absolutely right. Yeah.
It's hard to source. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
And I'm a indie beauty company, so I don't have any investors or funding behind me.
Right.
So I do get to only source the best. And I can select all of my vendors. I do not say to the lab, get some blueberry seed oil. No, I have my vendors.
Get some sea buckthorn oil.
And so the blueberry seed oil is just so beautiful. Well, I also have organic cranberry seed oil, pomegranate seed oil, olive oil. I have a lot of the seed oils because they're very well moisturized, but they're very high in the vitamin E family, the tocotrienols, right? Not so much the tocopherols, but the tocotrienols. And they've got, the deep moisturizing effect that remember, I'm in Arizona.
Yes.
I'm in Arizona where it's hot and it's dry.
Yeah.
And people do start wrinkling early because of the sun exposure. So I had to have something deeply, deeply hydrating.
Yes.
And then I put in some essential oils that were known for their anti-wrinkle activity as verified in the literature. And I put together something that actually it works because I didn't, how best to say this? I didn't have anybody looking over my shoulder and saying, it's too expensive. We can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's a very...
You didn't have the usual manufacturing or startup restrictions and limitations.
I didn't have any of that. I got to do exactly what I wanted.
Wonderful.
I got a very high quality product. It's a cult favorite. The environmental medicine doctors carry it in their offices.
Wonderful.
Carry it in their offices because these are the people who are telling their patients, be careful what you put on your skin.
Of course.
But then they're providing, what it is they should be using on their skin instead of, I know there's a few oncologists who were telling women, don't use anything on your skin. That doesn't work.
That's not realistic.
That's not going to work.
No way.
Right?
And I consider myself, a clean beauty freak, but that is not going to work.
I know.
Implausible.
Yeah, and it's anti-inflammatory. Yeah. The omega-3 essential fatty acids are anti-inflammatory. And guess what? Inflammation drives wrinkling.
Absolutely. As it is the basis of a lot of disease processes.
Yes, it is.
So we talked about your favorites, and I'm definitely putting a star next to that blueberry seed oil. I can't wait to try your serum. So what ingredients for the skin would you tell your patients or anyone to absolutely avoid? Even if there were only 1 or 2, what would you absolutely tell people to avoid on their skin?
Well, the first one, the one that I really object to would be it's a class called phthalates. Yeah. And so the phthalates are found in your fragrances.
Yes.
And they're endocrine disruptors, and they are contributing to weight gain and, diabetes. And And the problem with the phthalates is, this is kind of newish information. This is going to blow your mind. But, I stopped wearing perfume like decades ago. It just
Really?
oh, yeah.
I mean,
It
the
just
synthetic
bothered
perfumes, the
me.
natural perfumes, all perfumes,
Everything.
everything.
I got rid of my dryer sheets. I just, see,
Whoa.
I was like a canary in the coal mine. So you
Yeah.
have to understand that. That was driving my interest in natural medicine, right? So
Yes.
I got rid of, just intuitively. I'm very
Yes.
intuitive.
Yes.
And it was scary because, we women, we watch what our mothers do. My
Yeah.
mother used dryer sheets, right?
Yes, yes.
My mother used perfume.
Yes.
I really thought
I've
you're
got
not
a tray of fabulous perfumes at home.
I know. And I
Yeah.
thought, you're not really a woman unless you put on perfume.
Right.
because you walk out- Otherwise, anyway, so I just kind of broke with all that tradition.
Right.
But now I find out the phthalates, it makes the perfume, the scents kind of, stiff, right? And otherwise they just evaporate. And so the problem now is that you can absorb it through your skin through the ambient air. That's been looked
Wow.
at in studies. So those women at the department stores, and they want to spray you.
Yeah.
Right?
I always say no. Yeah.
I always say no, and I always felt kind of smug about it. Like, I'm not getting any, but I was.
Yeah.
If I had skin showing,
you got it anyway.
Absorbing it from the ambient air, which makes
Wow.
the phthalates sort of like, secondhand smoke. So you
Right.
may not be smoking, but if someone else is smoking, it's like you're smoking.
Right.
So my non-toxic clinic, my environmental clinic in Scottsdale, I had a
Yes.
policy: nobody could wear scented products.
Oh,
It
wow.
went for shampoo, it
Yeah.
went for perfume, it
Yeah.
went for body lotion, it went for all of it, because people who are environmentally ill,
Yeah.
it's like one of the problems they have is they cannot stand scents. It
Oh, so
makes
they
them
become
sick.
extremely hypersensitive.
Yes, they're hypersensitive. And so I was, I was promoting environmental treatments, and so you can't do that if everyone's being bombarded with
Right.
phthalates. So I had a no scent policy. So
Wow.
fragrance product, and that's not true of essential oils. So essential oils
Okay.
are actually plants,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
And so those are okay. So you
Yes.
can't have products that smell good.
Right.
You can't do that. But the phthalates I don't like in the products.
Wow.
And then,
And
other
perfumes, do
than
they come with labels? I mean, when you look at a perfume bottle, you can't turn it over and see exactly what's in it like a skincare product would.
because no, it's a
Ah.
trade secret. It's a trade secret, and they're not allowed to
Interesting.
disclose. And they can have, I mean, there's like up to 100 different chemicals in there, and they're not very natural normally.
Right.
And you really don't know what's in them. Now, there are some companies who are saying, you know what, our consumers want more transparency.
Yes.
We're going to start listing what's in our scented products. So I've heard that that's coming. I haven't actually seen it, but I think that's a step, in the right direction.
Yeah.
And then the people who don't, if the ingredients are disclosed, there are some people who are like, I'm okay with that. And then
Right.
there are some people, oh no, I think I'm not okay with that. So now I don't want it. Right.
Right.
And so it just gives people choice to buy and to use what works for them
Well,
without
I think
guessing.
I think they owe us that information. I really do.
Yeah, I do.
So how do you, being so knowledgeable about all of this stuff in the environment, how do you sort of disease-proof your own home?
Yeah. How do you?
I know.
I
Is it even
know.
possible?
It is because I have fabulous high quality air filters.
Yes, I believe in those as
That
well.
I believe in those very much.
Yep.
And I mean, there are even some stunning studies that show the pregnant women who had air filters running in rooms while they were pregnant, they had a decrease in autistic kids by,
Wow.
I think it was 30%. Don't quote me on that because I
Right.
don't have the article in front
Listen,
of me.
even if it were
but it was-
10%.
I know it's something. It's more than 1 or 2%.
Yeah, that's major.
It was fairly, yes. And now they're showing that pregnant moms who live within so many feet of a busy street have higher rates of autism
Oh,
and
wow.
other ADHD and other neurological problems in their children. And that's the pollutants, the PM 2.5. It's the particulate matter. It's
Yeah.
the gas in the air. And so I think an air filter, 20 years ago, I used to recommend them for asthmatics,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
people were super, and now I'm like, I think I I want everyone to have one
Yeah.
in their home. So
Yeah.
that's one way you do it. I don't drink water from the tap, and so I have a reverse osmosis filter. You can
Yes.
get a shower filter for your
Yeah.
shower.
Yeah.
Um, I don't recommend carpeting for people because it's it's a sink, a
Yeah.
dirt sink,
Yeah.
right? Not only gases, but all the stuff on the soles of your feet
Right.
go into your carpet. How often do you wash a carpet? Maybe
Yeah.
once or twice a year, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
How
That's
often
true.
wash your floors? Like once a week, right?
Yes.
So anyway, they're dirty and they're dusty, and so I like flooring to be non-carpet. I like no VOC paint in my homes. I started, oh my gosh, the first home that I painted with no VOC paint, I was in Arizona. I had to ship it from San Diego. I had to ship heavy gallons from San Diego to Arizona. It cost me
Oh
a
my gosh.
fortune. And nowadays, okay, so we are making in this area. Nowadays, you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and find no VOC paints
Right.
and
If you know to
just
ask for
buy
that,
it.
right.
If someone says, I'm going to have you before you move in, I've done the paints. When I had the person said, okay, but I'm going to charge you the difference in paints. I'm like,
Wow.
that's fine with me. But you know what? Since then, I've been apartment shopping, friends trying them into their space.
Yes.
And nowadays, sometimes they've already done it without being asked. Or if you ask, they're just like, oh, sure, I'll do
Yeah.
that.
It's like, yeah,
It's
like
just
no big deal.
you're just buying a different bucket of paint. It's no
Right.
big deal.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
those are some of the things. And then you have to do the bathroom and the beauty details,
Oh, yeah.
which, that takes a while. But there's so many things you can do in your home and you want to. Oh, and organic beds. You cannot those horrible beds that have all the flame retardants in them and
You mean the foam
pesticides and
or?
the foam.
Yeah.
Yeah. The foam
Yeah.
beds are the worst.
Yeah.
That's like breathing in for the exhaust from a
Ay,
car
ay, ay.
all
Yeah.
night long. It's just terrible for
Oh,
you.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have to admit that I love beauty, obviously. I'm in the beauty industry as a plastic surgeon. My approach to wellness and health and beauty is a holistic one, I like to believe. But I have to admit that I talk to my patients about nutrition. I talk to them about adequate sleep, eating well, getting enough exercise, mind-body connection, spirituality. However, I have not really done an adequate job, in my opinion, of talking to them about the environment and how they could reduce their toxic load. So you've taught me a lot today, and you've reminded me that the environment is as important. It's just one of the other
Yes.
dimensions of wellness,
Yeah,
obviously.
it is. And I just want to remind you, you already know this, but when women have skin eruptions and rashes and acne, a lot of that is just your body trying to expel
Yeah,
toxins through the third kidney, which is the skin.
which is
Like
the
if it
skin.
can't come out the regular way,
It's going to
you're
come
going
out
to
in your
see it on
skin.
your skin. And how many of our patients are constipated, right? A lot, a lot. There's a lot of bowels not moving
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
And so that's like one of our prime ways to move toxins out of our bodies. And
Get
if you're
things
not getting
moving.
rid of it that way, you are reabsorbing it from
Oh,
your large intestine and into the bloodstream, and it's going back around to the rest of your body.
yeah. Yeah, that is definitely tragic. So let's talk about a few specific issues, and I'd like your take on them. And you've mentioned a lot about some of these issues already, but for every issue, tell me if they are really impactful, and perhaps give us some tips about how we can reduce our toxic exposure to these. So the first one would be, and I know everyone hates to talk about this, but the electromagnetic field, like the EMF from our
Yes.
cell phones and smart
Yes.
devices and TVs. What do we
Yes.
do?
Terrible. They are having a biological effect on your body, whether you can feel it or
Oh my
not. There are
gosh.
some patients who are hypersensitive and they will feel it and it will make them sick. But
Wow.
the rest of us should not relax about them because we're getting affected too.
Okay.
So what I tell my patients is to turn off your phone at night.
Yes.
If you have to keep it on, put it in a different room,
Oh,
put it
wow.
into
Different
airplane
room.
mode. Yeah, different room.
Wow.
If you're using it for an alarm, just put it in your room in the farthest possible corner and put it on airplane mode.
Huh.
You'll still get an alarm. And then what I recommend for patients when you have Wi-Fi, as everybody does,
Yes.
turn it off at night. Did you know you can turn it off at night? Just turn it off. I mean, you're sleeping. You don't need connectivity to your computer.
That's true.
So just turn it off. And, I used to have people do Ethernet, which is hardwiring their computers. And I still love that. So then you don't even have Wi-Fi in the home.
Yes.
But I just bought a new computer. Do you know there's no Ethernet port anymore?
No, I know. Those are gone. Yeah.
Those are gone.
Crazy,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah. So
Crazy.
those are a few of the things that I would recommend for everybody to do. And they're so easy. And you don't have to give up your computer, your
Right.
iPad, or your phone.
Right.
You just want to make sure that you are using it wisely
Yeah.
and not, putting it in your bra.
Oh my
right?
gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You've seen the young girls do that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about the contaminated water and the extent of whether it's prescription medications or lead or mercury in the water, and how even though the regional governments test certain levels of toxins and metals in our water, they're at acceptable levels. It's not like they're ever zero. So would the answer to that be getting a water filter?
Do not drink the water. One of the most popular talks I've done in the last few years was on water. And it's like hexchrome. Remember the Aaron Brockovich movie in the story about hexchrome causing cancer? Well, that was in California, the largest payout in a lawsuit ever for PG&E, $330 million.
Yes.
But guess what? Would you expect that California water still has hexchrome in it?
No.
Hexavalent chromium? It still does.
Wow.
And
but it's at an acceptable level now, right?
And that's the thing. And so so the scientists have a health goal of what's acceptable, and then the regulators come in and say we're not going to do that. It's too expensive to filter down to that.
Yeah.
So we have to be careful, because I get a water report every year. And it looks so clean, but they only test like 12 or 14 things.
Yeah.
And there's 85,000 chemicals out there. Now in California, we do test for hexchrome. We do.
Oh, okay.
We have it in our Newport Beach water. It's all over.
Yes.
But there's a lot of things they're not testing for. And the ranges are acceptable to the regulators and the people who are putting out, the thing you get every year,
the reports, yes.
But it's not necessarily clean, and I would not drink it. Just got to do a water filter.
Yeah.
Not plastic bottled water,
Right.
though. Then you're getting EPA and phthalates and plastics, and you don't want to do that either. But reverse osmosis water is good. There's a couple other ones. Yeah.
Can we actually avoid mercury toxicity? I know it's everywhere.
Yeah.
How can we get rid of mercury?
Well, the first thing, it's in sushi. Why does everyone eat so much sushi? I don't understand
because
it.
It's easy.
I know, it's easy, and I guess it's protein, but the tuna and the sashimi, it's high in mercury. Fish is high in mercury, and so avoiding fish is actually a really good way to avoid mercury. And then, we do have it in our fillings, but it's also in our air. In China, we have they have a lot of coal-fired power plants, and it emits mercury. There are two plumes that come over to California. One hits about mid-state, and the other one hits a little bit lower. And so you are getting it in the air. You are getting it in your fish. You're getting it in those lights that are supposed to be eco-clean.
Yeah.
I mean, there should be like an OSHA warning. You're supposed to call OSHA when they break in your house. It's a toxic spill.
Wow.
And there's an actual protocol that you're supposed to go through that involves cutting out the piece of the carpet that it fell on with a diameter. It's like a clean margin when you're doing surgery.
When you're doing surgery, you need,
Yes. So you're supposed to cut out. Nobody does that. And so you can have mercury in your home, but those are some of the top ways that mercury, I would say fish is the biggest contributor.
Okay. Now, I recently got rid of my microwave oven because I realized that the microwaves actually deform and change your food to things that are not as nutritious. So, do
Yeah,
you agree with that? And what should we
I
do without a microwave? Go
do.
back to the
Yeah.
stovetop?
I got rid of my microwave a long time ago
Mm,
too, and people are still laughing, but I just work. Well, I mean, you're going to do more dishes because you have to warm things up in a
yeah.
pan on
Yeah.
the stove top
Yeah.
with a little bit of water so it
Yeah.
doesn't. But I don't use the microwave because it makes, man-made product. There are things in there that were not in there when you started.
That's right.
And that has nothing to do with the microwaves themselves. So I just think it's not a good idea to use it. And
Yeah.
people use them all the time. And if you microwave with plastic on your product, that's like so
Even
terrible.
worse.
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
So we won't even mention plastics because it's already out there. Like as if we can get
Oh,
rid of them as much as we can, then it just has to be done.
use Pyrex, use
Yeah.
glass.
Yeah.
There's all these food storage containers. This is
Yeah.
what I buy for all my kids and friends. I buy, I guess it's not a good Christmas gift. It's very practical. I buy, the word is out. Sorry, everyone, if you're watching. I buy the glass food storage containers with the plastic lids. So
Yes.
there's plastic on the lid, but the food is not touching the
That's
lid,
right.
right? It's
Yeah.
glass. So
Yeah.
I'm really big
Spoiler
on that.
alert, that's what's coming for Christmas.
Spoiler alert. Have you
Now,
been good this year?
yeah, right? Because you'll get a plastic storage, you'll get a glass storage container. So now you mentioned autoimmune disease. You mentioned
Yeah.
chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. I was also recently reading a book about EBV and Epstein-Barr virus. And what do you think? I mean, is that really that virus at the basis of so many diseases, including autoimmune issues, and not just mono?
Oh, yeah, that's a popular theory that's out right now, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't say for certain, but what I will say more generally is that
Yeah.
environmental toxins, one of the way they wreak their damage is they're immunotoxic. And so your immune system is your defense against illness. And you have to have the balance between
Yes.
TH1 and TH2, otherwise you're going to flip over into autoimmune. And there's
Right.
so much proof that environmental toxins are causing immunotoxicity.
Right.
And so I feel like I have seen a lot more EBV active
Wow.
infection.
Wow.
And I feel like we've all been exposed, right? We've
Yes.
all been
Yes. And
exposed.
once you have
But
it, you have it.
Mhm. But the immune system, people's immune systems are just getting hit by so
Yeah.
many environmental toxins that things are coming up. For example, oh my gosh, people are getting shingles, even younger people. When I was
Wow.
in medical school, shingles was kind of touted as what old people
Older
get
people, right.
who
Mature
are
people.
under
Yeah.
stress,
Yeah.
right? No, no, no,
Or
no, 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 no.
immunocompromised somehow.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. No, 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 no. Younger people, regular people, there's a lot of shingles, and that's just another virus.
That's
I
crazy.
feel
Yeah.
like the viruses are just having a heyday because
Having
they're
a
so
field day.
toxic.
And because
Hmm.
you think because the chemicals in the
Yes,
environment are
yes,
facilitating their reactivation or
yes,
activation. Okay.
yes, yes,
So before we think, oh, EBV is the cause of everything, look at the environment and the chemicals that,
yes.
okay, I like that.
Yeah.
And finally, stress. What can we do, Dr. Fine?
Oh, it's like you fell into that. Do Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Because it's anti-aging, right?
Yes.
Oh, the stressing. Oh my gosh, everyone is so stressed. It's
Beyond.
so bad for us.
And I think we
So,
underestimate the effects of stress on
yes,
our on our
we
immunology. It causes
and
disease.
yes, and so stress makes you sick, just like environmental toxins make it. In fact, we consider in environmental medicine, we consider stress a toxin.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
consider, anger and bad emotions and stress. These are all
Yeah.
toxins,
Yeah.
and they are bringing down your immune system.
Yes.
So I live in Newport Beach. I like to do a lot of earthing, which is walking barefoot on the beach.
Yes.
And so the earth is like a giant ball of electrons. It's like
So
like
you're
an analog.
grounding yourself in the
Yeah,
earth.
you're grounding. Yeah, I'm grounding myself all the time.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest ways that I use to reduce stress and
Yeah.
reduce inflammation. Oh my gosh. Have you seen the books on it and the studies? It reduces
Yeah.
inflammation,
Yeah.
it reduces pain, it reduces stress. So I do that. I do Tai Chi, I do yoga. I walk, I meditate. I have particular meditations in my book that I really like, but it's really important for us because I just see in my patient population, I'm sure you see it too. I mean, the women and the men, everyone, their stress levels increase every year. Roof. And it's crazy. Yeah. And it's really hard to get people well when they're so stressed. Yeah. They're not sleeping. I mean, That's stress right. is, bringing down their immune system. All that cortisol is not making them fat.
Well. Yeah.
Not eating well. And it's just like this horrible cascade of ill health. So very bad. Yeah.
Okay. So we have a lot of work to do and a lot more to understand. So it is overwhelming that we are being bombarded by over 80,000 new chemicals. But to your point, there are things that we can do, and there are some things that we can control in our lives to help reduce that toxic load. So thank you, Dr. Fine, for your time and your expertise. I really appreciate your sharing this and very valuable and super important information with us on the Forever Fab podcast.
Well, thank you, Dr. Madhere. I enjoyed talking to you, and it was a great discussion.
Yes, I'm glad. I'm glad you enjoyed it. So you've been listening to my interview with Dr. Anne-Marie Fine on Facing Climate Change, How the Environment Affects Your Face. Please learn more and learn what you can do to improve your skin, your health, and your DNA by reading Dr. Fine's book, Cracking the Beauty Code, How to Program Your DNA for Health, Vitality, and Younger-Looking Skin, and it is available on Amazon. The second thing that you could do is visit her website, drannmariefine.com. She's got courses there and a protocol, the beauty brief, right?
Beauty Bluff.
Oh, the Beauty Bluff, right, where you can learn more about your environment and what you can do to just help preserve your own beauty. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Forever Fab podcast. Until next time, stay beautiful inside and out. Thank you so much, Dr. Fine. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Stay well.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Forever Fab, the podcast on fashion, the art of living, and all things beauty, curated by Dr. Shirley Madhere, MD. Live beautifully and help make the world a more beautiful place.